Hello baby Chris and welcome to part 2 because like I mentioned yesterday this video was just gonna be forever long, so I decided to split it into 2 parts. So welcome back, and again feel free to like and subscribe for part 2 as well.
Hello, here are some tips on how to make your laundry more neurodivergent friendly. These are tips that come from me and my personal experience. First things first, get rid of that fuck-ass cupboard. Shelf, open. Nothing hidden behind doors. Everything in a section. It's organized. Labels facing directly towards you so you can see what is where. Oh, this is stuff that I don't really use. I'll keep it all together. Oh, look at that. Laundry detergent right next to the washing machine. Perfect. Color-coded mop heads. Blue means, yeah, cool, we're chilling. Red means, uh-oh, I'm down to my last one. Red means danger. I need more mop heads. I'll make a note in my phone right now. Dangerous chemicals up on the top shelf, lumped together, away from the kids if you have any. Shelf mounted to wall, again if you have children, I don't. But God forbid if they get into the laundry and start climbing on it, it's not going to go anywhere and it will reduce the risk of the shelf falling on them. Also, having these little command hooks that are great. That's why. I can put that there, again, directly in front of me. Oh, I need to sweep. Now I can go sweep. Very simple. Thank you for watching, I hope that helped. Go get a shelf, have a great day, be awesome, love you, bye.
I love people who share like actual practical tips, because you might not even like really think about it. You might like just take the way your parents stored things, for example, kind of as like a logical, because that's just like how you used to things being stored, so you don't really think about it too much, even though it's really not practical. But you probably know your own brain, like especially these hooks for brooms and stuff, or mops seem so practical, because if you just like stand them somewhere, I'm always afraid they're gonna fall over, because as soon as you hit them with anything, they're gonna fall over. And it just like looks super disorganized. But if you have like neat hooks, you can just like A, easily grab them, and A, easily also just put them away. So that seems really smart. I hate this apartment, by the way. We have like a big ass shelf in our living room. Actually, we have curtains in front of it because it's in the living room, so we can like easily put things away and just like draw the whole big ass curtain open and like see where everything is. But it still looks like a little bit neater. But if it's like a laundry room, having a shelf, kind of practical. Literally, since we don't even like have kids or pets or anything running around, we have just like a basket that is technically for clothing, and put all of our like laundry detergent in this basket next to the washing machine, because it's practical. Then you just like grab the things, you know. But if you have pets or anything, putting it in a shelf away from them seems safer. I love this ongoing thing, actually. But wood. The feeling of like, even if you put like lacquer on it, and then like if the lacquer or whatever, if you just oiled them, if it is like not fully coated and then you get like a piece of wood in your mouth, basically, no. I couldn't have eaten things I needed a spoon for. I would have just like tried to eat everything with my hands probably, but that's also not great, because then your hands feel sticky or dirty. And I also don't like eating things when my hands are dirty. I think or at least I would not have done well, but I feel like a lot of us wouldn't have done that well.
Hyperfixation this, neurodivergent that, special interest. How do you explain to neurotypical people that your brain is not accepting new media at the moment, and you've only been reconsuming your hyperfixations because your brain cannot fathom the idea of taking something else on, even for a short period of time, no matter how good it is? Because I don't know how to explain that without looking crazy.
I think there is actually a simple solution. Just look crazy enough so that they stop suggesting things. Because I know it's not just me, kind of this whole avoidance thing of if someone tells you how good something is, you just automatically don't want to watch it anymore. It's probably still really good, but then you can't watch it anymore, even if you're not in this state of just like not being able to watch any new content or consume new books or whatever. Listen, the amount of artists or books or series I have like screenshotted because someone talked about them without it like actually being aimed at me. Because if they just say, oh my god, I love this show, like it's so cool, it has these and these things in it, I'm just like, huh, that actually sounds really good, and then I screenshot it to check out later. Screenshots have probably been lost, lists I've started have definitely been lost, but the amount of screenshots I had of like artists or music videos I wanted to watch is forever long. There is way too many things, and sometimes I randomly just like do check out things because I'm not currently in the state. But to be fair, I have a hard time listening to people. I probably just ignore it when they suggest things to me, you know. And somehow for me it's a little bit easier if, but again, I'm not really in the state of just like not being able to. I just get weird looks because I like rewatching things, and I was like, oh my god, how often have you watched that? Like, too often probably, but I am going to watch it again, you know. Honestly, just look weird. I'm trying to get to the kind of state where people know that I'm like this, and I don't really care if they're weird. I'm working on it. Like, sometimes I don't care, sometimes I still do. So work in progress, you know. But just politely say that your plate is too full at the moment, that you don't have the capacity to like start a new show or something, maybe.
If you're autistic and you have also ever smoked cigarettes or vaped, how long did it take you to figure out that it was a high masking stim? I remember before I went in for my assessment, smoking was listed as one of the things that could be considered stimming. And that was another one of those aha light bulb moments for me. Because for the entire time I smoked, I remember telling people, like, I don't think I actually am addicted to the nicotine. It's not the nicotine. What it is the action of it. There's something about the physicality and also the breathing, like the way that you are like forced to stop and inhale, exhale. I liked the way that it kind of made me like get into my body when I usually am not very in touch with my body. And like when I smoked cigarettes, there was something that was kind of nice about the fact that I had to go outside. Like I had to stop whatever process I was in to go and do something else. It was kind of like a forced way of touching grass. For health reasons, I decided to start vaping, and that ended up being really bad too because I did it all the time, everywhere. Got like 800 times more addicted to vaping than I ever was to smoking. I did eventually quit like a year and a half ago, and I'm really glad that I was able to quit. But if you're autistic, what about you? Did that ever happen to you? Did you ever do that? I'm just curious.
I personally have never smoked or vaped, for that matter. But partially just because I'm maybe entirely terrified of spending money, and I didn't want to because it gets kind of expensive really quickly, you know? So that's probably why I didn't. But I can kind of see that. Because A, it forces you to go outside. You can always just like use it as an excuse, at least if you smoke like normal cigarettes, to be like, oh, yeah, I need to smoke my next cigarette. I'm gonna be outside, you know, and then you can just like stay outside a little bit longer, you know, and just hope there aren't too many other smokers. I can see why. Like, apart from the actual it kind of working as a stim, I can definitely see why.
Not like the song. Santa Claus is coming to town. Do not come to my town.
It's really like this. It's out in public, or especially at work. Like, we have set days where we come to the office, really. But we're obviously allowed to come more often if we want to. And then if you have like really annoying people who love to come to the office often, and you're just hoping they won't be there because you already don't have energy to deal with people, you have to go to the office, and then that person is there. Literally nothing ruins my day faster because I know he's gonna get on my nerves all day. So yeah, do not come to my town. Do not come to the office. Do not talk to me if you see me. Just Just don't, okay? And to finish off, we have a fairly long, I think it's like 5-minute long video. I'm gonna need to take notes during this.
Myths as an autistic autism assessor, day one, let's go. Routine doesn't literally mean routine. And as a potentially autistic person, literal thinking is kind of something that we do pretty well. I'm going to do another video on that. Anyway, routine talks about the need for predictability and familiarity. Routines in the DSM-5 criteria represent a need to have repetition. So, for example, whenever you go to your local favorite Thai restaurant and you always get the same pad Thai, that is routine. That is you going for your familiar and seeking that repetition. There is comfort in that. You playing the same song over and over and over and over again because you just love it. Routine. You sitting in the same spot every time you go to the library to do your study or your work. Routine. You going for a walk, following the same path every single time. Routine. You eating the same thing for breakfast every day. Routine. You going to the same place every Saturday morning. Routine. You watching the same TV show on repeat as your comfort show. Routine. You buying the same clothes that you previously bought before and love and are familiar to you. Routine. You preferring to use the same cup in your cup collection every single time. A little bit of sensory influence, but also routine. And then when you flip it around, you being uncomfortable with things that you're not familiar with also falls under routine. Being unhappy about having to sit in the spot that isn't your usual spot comes under routine. You feeling unsettled because you couldn't go to the place that you always go to every Saturday morning this weekend. Routine. You feeling uneasy about going to a new unfamiliar place like a new medical practice. Routine. You hating surprise parties. Routine. You struggling to cope when your favorite food from the supermarket gets a new improved taste stamp on the front. That comes under routine. The anxiety you feel before going to a new restaurant or something where you haven't seen pictures of the place. Routine. When unexpected changes happen in your day and you feel uneasy about it or get really upset about it. Routine. Basically, routine talks about the need for predictability and familiarity. It's those two things. So stop asking yourself, well, do I fit that criteria? Or am I autistic? I must not be autistic because I don't have routines. I don't have rigid routines. That is not what it is about. So think about it as predictability and familiarity. How do I cope with things that are unpredictable? Do I seek familiarity in my life? Do I repeat stuff? Do I repeat the places I go, the food that I eat? Do I repeat my activities? And if you do only a little bit of that stuff, think about how much comfort you get out of it. Because a neurotypical person, by all means, will get comfort out of their favorite things, but it will be on a average sort of level. The comfort that I get out of watching like my favorite shows, even though I've seen them a million times, astronomical. The comfort I feel having my favorite food, my I've got a few, but one of my favorite like pad Thai dishes from this one particular restaurant, huge. If you have a lot of comfort food, comfort shows, comfort activities, comfort everything, you may end up fitting under this predictability and familiarity criterion. So this is the one that refers to routine and rigidity. If you're following along with the DSM-5 criteria, you're looking at number B2 as the criteria that talks about this. So go have a look at that and spend a moment just feeling annoyed about the fact that it is so poorly described, and also feeling so annoyed that autism assessors don't pay attention to what these things actually mean. It's a whole nother video that I have to do talking about how much autism assessors actually get to it. Anyway, so there we go, day one, signing out. Click follow because I will be doing this every day. There are so many myths to bust.
This is like one of the things that threw me a lot, actually, to be like, well, I don't have like rigid routines, like whatever, because I also have ADHD, I cannot stick to routines. Like if I try to set routines, as in, okay, when I go to bed, I'm gonna wash my face and I'm gonna put lotion on my face and I'm gonna, that doesn't make sense in that order, but anyways, brush my teeth, then I'm gonna like comb my hair. Don't need to comb my hair, I shaved it off 2 days ago, but anyways, and things like that, like I could never stick to it. Because by the time I was ready to go to bed, I was just like too tired, and then I just like barely brushed my teeth, and I went to bed and just like didn't do anything, right? And I was like, I can't stick to routines, or I can't stick to morning routines. I can't like whatever, sit down to journal and then make some tea or coffee. I could never stick to it. And I was like, well, that I can't be autistic then, right? Because like I don't struggle, or like I struggle with routines. I don't love routines. But let me tell you something, the amount of like comfort shows I have, or actually also like the amount of distress I get. If someone's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna order from this restaurant later today. And it's a restaurant I don't know, and I like basically already picked my dish because I always pick the same thing every time. And then this restaurant is closed at the moment and we have to order someplace else. The amount of distress I feel that I thought was normal. I was like, oh well, yeah, no, I was just disappointed because I really looked forward to this food. Well, guess what? Normal disappointment looks different. Like neurotypical disappointment looks different than the amount of distress you feel, or at least the amount of distress I felt if something like that happens, right? Because it was never like normal, oh, I'm looking forward to this food, or whatever, or I'm looking forward to watching the show. Because it's a lot more intense, I think. Because, yeah, she touched on the, like, getting comfort from that repetition, really, and that familiarity. Also a word I cannot pronounce, apparently. Familiarity. Anyways. But yeah, the other side of that is also just, like, the distress. Because, yeah, again, neurotypicals being, like, disappointed if something... Like, usually, even if you have it set in your mind that, okay, it's Wednesday evening, and Wednesday evening I always do this thing, or I always watch this one show, or I always spend 2 hours listening to my playlist on repeat or a song on repeat, and then someone disturbs that. Again, the amount of distress you're gonna feel versus the distress a neurotypical person is gonna feel if they're like, oh, well, you know, I usually do this out of habit, but now we have to do something else. They're probably not going to be that bothered by it. Again, they might be a little bit disappointed or a little bit annoyed that they don't get to do the thing, but they're not going to be that distressed. So kind of look for those two things, like of A, the distress you feel when something breaks you out of the things that are familiar to you, or that you like to do on repeat, and the things she mentioned of how much comfort do you get from the things. Because once you start thinking about it, you probably have like a lot of things that you wouldn't think about as routines, but that you do regularly, or that you do every week or every day, that are so familiar to you that if you like think about it, like why you do them and how much comfort you get and how much joy you get out of those, you're probably gonna realize quite quickly, if you're still here, that indicates a lot about you. You know? Anyways, this video escalated a little bit again. It got longer than I meant it to. Sorry about that, but I guess I can never tell when I start these things. You know, anyways, I hope you enjoyed the TikToks. I hope you feel called out. If you do, keep researching it, I guess, because understanding yourself and understanding your own brain is sometimes stressful. Like, getting there is stressful, but it's still really worth it, you know, and will ultimately help you lead your life in a way that suits yourself better. So, you know, it's definitely worth it. So keep researching, keep watching fun TikToks about it, because why not? And I'll see you in my next video in a few days.